let me get my timer. Okay, who would like to go first?
Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Diana and I'm a third year from Revelle College, and I've been a part of KP since my freshman year. My freshman year I wasn't on board, I was just a GBMer, but I did help out with Makasama, and my second year as well I wasn't on board, but I also helped out with Makasama. And my third year I really decided to join board and to become one of the co-culture coordinators, and being on board I like loved it. Like I found that KP was like my home and my place, and I got to connect with a lot of different people that I haven't like connected with before, got to know really well from before. And I've always been on Revelle College Council first, and before that used to be my first priority. But since joining board this year, I realized that KP is the space that I want to be a leader in. KP is the space that I want to help people to grow in, and I've taken a lot of things from being on other boards, such as I was also chair for Revelle Semi-Formal, and from being on Revelle College Council, I've taken a lot of things from that I would want to incorporate on KP board. Because as one of my roles from being chair is I don't really program, I don't really put on events. My goal is to be there for my board and to help them out, and because to be like visible, because people are saying like when GBMers are sad, like the chair needs to be there for board, so when board is happy, it trickles down and GBMers can be happy and they can get things that they want and to achieve. And I feel like I know kind of what a chair like needs, because also I've been vice chair in Revelle College Council, and I've seen like from this year as being on board like what I would want from a chair. So me like being chair, I kind of have a feel of what I would want to give back, and I have shadowed Jarrell this past year, and I've also contacted past chairs such as Rowella and Camille, and I've talked to them about what would they want to improve or what they think that needs to be done. So I feel like I'm ready for this position, and I just want to be here for everyone. So yeah.
I am KP, KP is me. My name is Carl Caldo, I'm a third year from ERC. And I started out with that statement because what I realized in these 3 years that I've been here at UCSD and I'm part of KP is that KP is nothing without its people. We aren't KP because it's the name. We are KP because all of us are here coming together and forming our own community. And me running for chair is helping everyone understand that. A little backstory that I wanted to bring up during my speech today is when KP was first created, we were created in a sense where people wanted to come together as friends. We were created as a space so people can see each other. Our name didn't come from just being another organization fighting for something. We came from a group of people that were willing to stay together, really willing to fight together, and willing to be together and forming an organization with that. And I think the reason why I'm running for this position as chair is because that has been forgotten. A lot of things have been forgotten through our histories in KP, and something I really want to bring back is that history of why we're all here together, why these board positions were made, why we're here as a board, and why the GBMers should be coming out to these GBMs. I am KP, KP is me. It's something I really want to resonate within everyone. Even if I don't get this position, I really want everyone to help, to really learn and understand that this organization, KP, wouldn't be anything without all of you. It wouldn't be anything without all of us. It wouldn't be anything if we weren't here standing. It wouldn't be anything if me and Diana are running for right now. All of us are here because we're trying to build a community that we need to keep going strong. A community that may have been lost, a community that we're trying to rebuild again, a community that needs to be built. And before we even move forward into doing anything else outside of KP in general, is to really build that community within ourselves. And it's something I've noticed within the past 3 years is that that community has been lost. A community that's been trying to be built and rebuilt over and over again, but the community has been lost because there's really no passion in building that community within our own organization. I am running for chair because I want to build that community. I really want to set that foundation as a chair for future generations to really build that community within KP. I'm willing to be the backbone of every board member. I'm willing to support you in any way possible. I'm willing to shoulder every single problem you're gonna have. I've been on board as a second year as academic director. I know as academic director, I struggled so much in order to get praised, in order to be noticed, in order to really get my programs out there as academic director, I really noticed how big support really needs to be in the board space, in the KP space, in any space in general, is that that support needs to be there. And with me struggling having to find that support through board and through STAR and through in KP space in general, I really learned to understand that I'm running for chair because
Sorry, your
I
time
really
is
want
up.
to form that support. I am KP, KP is me.
Questions? Jarrell, Chris, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
What's up? I'm Caesar.
Okay, Caesar, Larry, and Matt. Okay, sorry. Jarrell, Chris, Caesar, Larry, and
Larry.
Matt. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So as chair, actually this is a two-parter then. As chair, you are in charge of 20 other board members. So, and you are also the face of KP. So my first question is, how will you promote individual growth, not collective growth, for each board member, and how do you deal with criticism?
I go first. So, for individual growth within KP board, I think the one thing I want to leave with everyone is I'm willing to be challenged and I'm willing to challenge you. I'm willing to empower and really question everything that you're doing and really ask the questions that people really don't see themselves. So if I ask a question like, why are you doing this? Or what's the real reason behind why this is made? I'm willing to ask those questions to really get that from you. I'm willing to be, I guess, the con guy in a sense. I'm willing to stand on both sides, and even though I feel strongly for something, I can still stand against it because there's some things to learn on both sides of the situation. So, for example, if I went up to KFAM and asked, like, what's the reason for P-grad? And KFAM would give me an answer to it. But if an answer is like, well, I don't know what's up with P-grad, like, I don't know what to do with P-grad, or what's the real reason behind it, then that's when I would step in as a chair to really help facilitate that growth, facilitate that discussion, and helping you really realize what that event is really for. And that would be for the individual growth, and that, in a sense, would spawn into the collective growth in the KP space. And with criticism, criticism comes in different forms. And I know through the 3 years that I've had criticism, I've been willing to deal with it, been dealing with it, and it doesn't affect me in any way. In any sense, that criticism is the one that's helping me really learn from that experience. Criticism is the thing that drives me to really change my opinions, to really stand my ground on what I really believe. I know this year I was criticized a lot through my position as KP STAR coordinator, or just through the opinions that I've had through KP. And with that was a growing experience for me, because I learned that sometimes I need to take a step back and really look into the situation. I learned that not all the criticism that I get is also a growing experience, and I learned that this criticism is the only way to really help move forward. And that for me is like really encouraging to the board members, and it's really something I want to pass on to the next generation of board members and also through the KP space, is that criticism can be much, but it's also the thing that helps us move forward in our lives. It's the thing that helps not only me, but also all of us in really understanding who we are, where we stand, and what we're doing in this space.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, the first part of your question was, how would you support your
So how would you promote individual
growth?
Yes.
So something that I would like to do for my work, like I see myself as a role as there to be like the safety net for them, and like if they did have any trouble, they can come and talk to me or ask me, or I would work with them how they could achieve their goals. So something I would want to do is I would want to meet with all of my board members in the beginning of the year and set out like a list of goals for them to achieve, or like what like do they understand their roles clearly, like what events do they need to put on, or like do they know where they have to help out in, and if they do have any trouble, we can like clarify things in the beginning, and so they can have a set roadmap on like what to do for the rest of the year, so they're not caught unaware or caught by surprise. So I would just want to meet with everyone personally and like talk about them and their position, so they like are clear and like clarified. Because I feel like sometimes what happens in transition meetings to new positions, you don't like, even though you could talk to the people that were in your position, sometimes you don't always get the chance, or sometimes you do feel intimidated even if they are really friendly or personable, or you might not know them, or you're totally new to the space. So you do really look to your chair to answer your questions, and I just want to be that type of role for someone. And the way I take criticism, of course it hurts, like I'm going to be honest, like it does hurt, but I really do like when someone is able to share with me like how they feel about something I've done, because it helps me really to grow and improve, because I am here for like everyone, and so I would want them to feel comfortable in telling me like what I need to improve on, what I'm doing wrong, and I'm the type of person I will take that and I will try to improve it, and hopefully like you will see that I did take your criticism well, and I did put out something that you all liked and agreed with.
Okay. Chris.
My question.
Okay. Caesar?
What up, Hubby? Hey, everyone. I have a couple of questions. So this is two parts. The first part is, not a member of this community, how do you make not people that aren't part of this community particularly feel welcome? My second question is, I've noticed like with student involvement, student leaders, there's always passion in the beginning, and there's not really follow-through later on. So could you give me specific examples through your previous experiences that could really relate to how you will perform in the future?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm talking about collaborating with different people in our community. So I feel like I am a good segue for that, because I have been involved in a lot of things. Like I've been involved with Involved Project Council and like MOSA, and I do know people from like various backgrounds, and so I would want to work on like educating our KP members on that there are AS meetings on Wednesdays during our GBM times too, and maybe like one time we can all go up there and see how they're doing and talk about things that are going on with our whole entire school, not just something going on in our KP space, and like also showing, because I know a lot of people are scared of SAAC, and like I like can tell you I was scared of SAAC first too, until I went to one of the meetings like to sub for Joel, and I realized like these are just people like me, like everyday people, and so I would just want to like, for collaborating, I would just want to like give information on when other GBMs are having times, like when they have GBMs, like other opportunities for our members to go to, and things that they could be exposed to, because sometimes it's not that people are like scared or don't want to go, it's that a lot of times they don't know about it or they didn't hear about it. So I would just really want like to be transparent and for them to know where they can go and like other avenues for people to get involved in here at UCSD. And then your second.
My second question was, what specific incidences of leadership that you have undertaken that can help you propel you towards the future? Like different leadership experiences that you may have in the past, and that significant milestones that you felt that would not just be like, oh, you're passionate, but you can really follow through and have that initiative towards the future.
So I know that you talked about like you're really excited about being a leader in the first place and then losing interest, and then I know a lot of times when you're working on something with a lot of people, like in the beginning you're so passionate about it, and then as time goes on you do kind of get overwhelmed, or you do kind of feel withdrawn, or you do kind of feel that they already took too much out of you, and what more could you possibly give? But I feel like those are the times when you just have to collect yourself and get together with your board and talk about the reasons why you were here in the first place. Like maybe have a mini retreat on why, like an energizer mini retreat on like why you did join board in the first place, or why you did do this position in the first place, and like realize that you're not here just because of yourself, you're here because there's like 100 other people counting on you. So.
Just to clarify, your first question was how would I welcome people into the space, and the second question is follow through. Right? Okay. So the first question on welcoming people into the space, I'm the type of person to actually say hi to some person that I don't even know. At GBMs, I'm usually the first one to say like, hey, what's up? Like, how are you doing? I know, for example, if Tian doesn't mind, I remember she actually came to a GBM winter quarter of last year, but we didn't have a GBM that week, but she was still here, kind of thing. And like, no one would talk to her, like none of the board members would talk to her, but I'm the one that saw her outside of the community dot, and I started talking to her, like, hey, what's up? Like, are you here for a KP GBM? I'm sorry we don't have one this week, but what really brought you out here, kind of thing. So I started talking to her, and I'm like, with that, I've been doing that continuously, even this year. I think that's why I haven't missed a GBM at all since my first year, was because I like to say hi to people, or just continuously like to see people that I already know. And that for me is like how I would make it a more welcoming space. It's just by saying hi, how are you doing, like what are you here for, kind of thing. And I do that in any space that I'm in. I've been doing that through spaces a lot, especially like since we see new people all the time. As KP Star coordinator right now, working in spaces, I see all these different people from different communities, and I can really communicate with them and ask what they're really interested in, or what they're doing, like really hold a conversation with them, and to make that a reason why to come back, and to a reason to really welcome them into this space is just by saying hello. And that's something I want to pass down through the board members, because I think board is the reason that people should be welcomed in this space, and really express that through me, through them, through the people that are present in the space. Second question has followed through. I have a couple examples that I want to share with you. First example is back in high school, I was the president of speech and debate for junior and senior year for 2 years. And what I had to do with that is that during my sophomore year, speech and debate fell. It fell apart and it crumbled down to the ground. So during my junior and senior year, I spent those 2 years restructuring, rebuilding, and reconstructing what speech and debate meant for Yucca Valley High School, for my high school team. And so I've had experience in like really following through with that for those past 2 years, or for those last 2 years of high school, is really rebuilding what speech and debate is. And I've brought them to tournaments, brought tournaments back to Yucca Valley. I brought them, I encouraged people to join speech and debate even though they didn't know what speech and debate was. I used that time to really teach them what we did for speech and debate and really get them into what the program is really about. And then the year after I set that strong foundation my junior and senior year, they won 7 trophies at nationals. They won trophies at every tournament that they went to. And so that was me like leaving that strong foundation for that next year to really like follow up with that. And my second example is, as academic director, I really established the peer editing program, because one of the things that was questioned about academic director was, what can I do to really bring, like, or to really take care of all the majors, or be all inclusive with my programs. And that's why I brought peer editing program into the KP space, is because that's how I would want to be all inclusive. And that I took a fall quarter to establish that, as well as establishing like the study groups and study jams and all that. And then taking all winter quarter, just really like work with peer editors to really get that program out there, to really advertise. And then that carried on into this year. So like, with following up with passion, I think for me, it's not difficult, because it's what I love to do. Like all the duties that I'm giving, all the responsibilities that I'm given, all the things that I like to do, or all the things that are set out for me, is stuff that I really like doing. It's what I'm passionate about. It's what I'm here for. And I wouldn't take a break for a second. If there was something that I needed to do, I would do it in a heartbeat. If there's something that needs to be taken care of, I would do that in a heartbeat. So me following through with passion all year, that's going to be there all year. And I think another example is just me as KP Star coordinator. I haven't given up at all this year. I just keep going and chugging, and like I'm going to coming up is one of the biggest programs of the year, KP Star camping, and even then, I'm making sure that's a really good program in the end, because I want to make sure that's an event that everyone can talk about. I want to make sure that's something that people can really express why they're still here in KP. I want to make sure that's something that's really welcoming for everyone. And I'm not a person that lacks in passion. I'm a person that's very strong and passionate in my opinions and anything. I can hold a conversation for hours about a single topic, if anything. Like, you can ask anyone here that I have conversations with. Like, I can talk to anyone for hours about a single topic, because passion never runs dry for me. And that's why I can follow through with whatever I need to do, because that's never going to die.
Larry?
So, let's say KP is in danger of being kicked out of SAAC. Please defend why we should or should not continue to be part of it.
KP in danger of being kicked out of SAAC? That's really a topic. I've heard about this already. I've heard about the rumors of something like that happening. And the thing about that is really discussing the different levels of activism and what that activism looks like in the KP space. And I think this is something I really talked about with other people before also, is just that there are different levels of activism, and people, the only activism that we see a lot through the SAAC space is the ones in the forefront. So people like BSU or MECHA or in any of the spaces that really are up there in the front, like really organizing and getting people together, and I think that's what people like to see. But what we haven't taken the time now, or in the times that I've like seen the SAAC space already, is really teach about the different levels of activism, or even hold a workshop of what those activism look like, or what activism really looks like. And I think that's one, like, for me, I feel like that's the strongest reason why KP could be in danger of being kicked out of SAAC, is because people don't see us. People don't see where KP stands a lot of the time. So in order, I think KP needs to stay in SAAC, not just because of its numbers, but because the struggles that people in SAAC go through is the same struggles that we go through. And these struggles aren't really defined in any way. It's struggles that we feel through different sensations. It's struggles that we see through our own histories. And the one thing that SAAC, or just for us to relate back to SAAC and be really transparent about it, is the reason why we were in SAAC in the first place. And for me, I think we're in SAAC because we have an undetermined history, we have an undefined history, we have a history that we don't even talk about. It's undocumented. And I think that's one reason why I really think we're in SAAC, is because we need this community to help us define who we are, who we were before, who our culture was, and who our history was, and what our history is. And we need to take that time to really teach the other organizations in SAAC, to really talk to them about what our history is and where we're coming from. Because as an organization, we don't have, like, we have these political issues from the Philippines. We have those issues that we find out through the news. We have issues that we have in America. But all of that is really stuff that isn't talked about. So if we take that time as an organization, or as people, or as representatives from KP into that SAAC space, and really defend ourselves and really talk to them about, this is our struggle, this is the reason why we need to stay in SAAC. Because we need to know our history, and in order for us to learn our history, we need to understand yours. For you to, and for them to really take the time to understand where we're coming from also. So in a sense, as people in this organization, we're writing our own histories right now. We're defining ourselves and what our issues and how we're standing for against it right now.
So I agree with a lot of things Carl said and a lot of Jane said about making known our history and the ways of our activism, because it's not always like to go out there and to rally and to march. Sometimes it's table activism where you like sign petitions or call people in charge. So in order to change things, it's not always by force. It's also by like sitting, like sit-outs and stuff like that. So, and for SAAC, I know that also another thing that was discussed this year was like if there's not open communication between the core orgs and SAAC, that's another way to get kicked out. So just making sure I maintain that open communication and making sure that representatives that are supposed to go to their meetings do go, and that KP's voice is heard throughout the SAAC community.
Matt?
Let me try to figure out how to do this question. So like something that I've really been thinking a lot about and thinking about this year is like Asian American or Asian Pacific Islander activism. And I mentioned, Carl, like when you mentioned SAAC, I remember that you mentioned specifically BSU and MECHA as like the face of like the activists and whatnot. And I think that's what troubles me the most, because like the two API organizations like APSA and KP, you know, like I see not very little, but like there's not a lot of stuff going on between us two, you know. And that really just that concerns me a lot because although, you know, university says that we are not underrepresented, the fact of the matter is we really are, you know. And issues of and API issues never really I didn't really come into like these spaces that often, you know. And so like not only building coalitions cross racially or whatever, what can you do to you know ensure like stronger coalitions with, you know, API organizations too, because like there's issues that we share with API folks that like mirror us a lot more than not a lot more, but like, you know, they resonate a lot stronger sometimes than like cross-cultural collaborations with the BSU or MECHA. And so like I guess my question is like what would you do to strengthen API activism or coalitions?
I would say that the first and foremost thing I would want to do is like start open dialogue, start communication with those organizations, because I feel like a lot of times we feel like we're just like in our own little group, and we do forget about the other like API organizations out there. So I think one thing I would want to do is like start talking with them and like maybe more joint collaborations on things, and also collaborating with I know that not all other organizations have like a community activism position or a gender sexuality position, but just like try opening more dialogue with them about issues such as that, and maybe creating more, not just like Filipino Arlons, but Arlons about how other people's struggles connect with ours.
To really answer, I think we have to understand, I know for me, I'm taking the time to really understand where BSU and MECHA are coming from. And I think what makes them such a strong force in all these activism statements, and all the moves that we have at UCSD so far, that concerns the SAAC space, is because they have such a tight community. They may be small in numbers, but they're a community that's willing to stay together and really willing to fight for the same thing. So for me, what I would like to do is really build a stronger sense of community within KP in order to establish what activism looks like in KP. Because without our community, we're just going to be people, or just people in our own bodies, just going out there and making a movement without making a statement as a whole. We're just going to be making statements as individuals if we don't even understand what that community looks like. So that's why I kept saying in my opening speech is that this community of KP is what's really important and what's going to push us forward in learning and growing these spaces. And in order for us to mirror, or at least feel passionate and strongly as much as BSU and MECHA, we need to build that community here first. And with building in that community, that's when we can finally understand and really listen to each other's feelings without really having to communicate that. So once we all feel the same way, or at least not like feel the same way, but have a stronger sense of passion within KP with that community, is the only way we can really get up to that level of activism. I mean, there are other ways, like really teaching about what activism is, really expressing those issues, really teaching those issues of what we're fighting about in the space itself. But the only way that a lot of us can really understand that is if our community's in it together. So I really want to mirror what's happening with BSU and MECHA with their strong communities and really passionate people in that space, and really bring that here in KP where that passion grows, and really foster that passion here starting at the beginning of the year, or even at the end of this year, or with the new fresh people, really finding where that passion is and really communicating with each other and building that community in order to reach that level of activism.
So, as the face of KP, entities will basically bring conflict to you whenever they have problems. So what conflict resolution skill sets do you have, and what do you want to improve on? Or what do you feel you need to improve on? But you can go both ways.
So for conflict resolution, I've actually been trained in conflict resolution. I was a peer mediator for all 4 years in high school. I haven't really been able to use those skills here because I haven't really facilitated conflict. But I was a peer counselor where conflicts did arise. but with those skills, I've learned to take that mediator, facilitator role, like really taking that neutral stance on a conflict and really take myself away from it and still be engaged with discussion. So I think with me, I'm able to like really facilitate discussion, asking the questions like, so where's this coming from? I hear what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, so I understand where this is coming from, so where's this coming from for you, kind of thing. So asking questions of clarification, asking questions of understanding, asking questions to move on, those are like the three things about really understanding conflict resolution and really facilitating that conflict. And I know I am able to do that because of the training as I had as a peer mediator, where I prevented students from getting referrals because they could talk it out through me, kind of thing. Or as a peer counselor, where I understood where their struggles were coming from and helped them facilitate their own process and journey, and helping them understand where that conflict is arising, how they themselves can really figure that out and how they can solve themselves. So I think I'm more than capable to really facilitate what a conflict would arise, or how a conflict would arise as or from different entities. And what was the second part of your question?
What do you need / want to improve on in terms of your conflict resolution skill set?
I think what I would need personally is really the visibility of that conflict to happen. I don't want to hear, like, especially if it's a conflict that includes me, or if it's a conflict that includes something or someone that I really care about. I don't want to hear that through the grapevine kind of thing. Like, I want it to be like where it's, what I really need is to really understand where the conflict is coming from and how to really facilitate with that, with myself and with the other party involved. So I think that's what I would need, and what I would want, or what I think I would want to improve on, is really like stepping up and dealing with it, and stepping up and really challenging myself to really learn about that conflict and to really figure out how I can grow from it, how I can fix myself, how I can really deal with it, and make that an experience that I can look back on and say, I learned something from this, and this is how I can move on, and this is what I can teach to everyone else. So I think that's what I want from a conflict resolution, is to really be able to understand the story and to really be able to learn what that story is trying to say, and how I can use that as a teaching method or a teaching experience for everyone else that would find themselves in a conflict similar.
Can you repeat your question?
Okay, so as the face of KP, entities will often come to you with conflicts, usually regarding like KP. So what is your conflict resolution skill set, and what do you feel you need / want to improve on within that skill set?
So I've actually dealt with a lot of conflict this year, from being a vice chair of the college council and also being co-cultural coordinator, because you deal with a lot of different people, not just on your board, but also outside, like staff, or also like for PCC you deal with like choreographers, script writers, and the thing that I noticed mostly about conflict is miscommunication. So something that I would really want to work on is being transparent and making sure everyone is on the same page and knows exactly what's going on, because that's one of the main reasons why a lot of conflict does arise in the first place, because it's like he said, she said, and I would just want to get to the main source. And then something I would want to improve on for conflicts or get out of is knowing, like, hopefully people are comfortable enough that they would bring up things ahead of time instead of the last minute, because that's a lot of things that we dealt with. Like, if people aren't able to carry something out, I want them to be honest and say that this is too much for me, so I do need help, instead of waiting till the last minute and then trying to scramble and trying to like figure things out, which end up like messy and not fully fixed.
Sorry, I'm gonna give one more to Christine, the last one. Okay. So this is a narrative question, kind of, so pardon me, okay? But I'll start by saying that I think while it's important to note that the chair oversees the leadership growth of their board, I think a chair is also a symbol of leadership for GPMers as well. And I think that's something that goes beyond the execs. It's the chair's role to really see how you can inspire your GBMers to either keep coming out or do something outside of the KP space for themselves. And so with that said, one, I'd like to know what your vision is for KP this year, because I hear a lot of talk about we can do this, we can do that, I want to foster community this, but now my question is how? What leadership qualities do you have that you can translate into the community space for those who attend a KP GBM once and those who keep coming all the time?
So for me, I'm a really personable person, and and something that I really like. I know that a lot of times when people talk about like, oh, like fake it till you make it. Like I really don't believe in that. Like I really believe in finding something that you connect with someone on a personal level and reaching out to that person and like, and for them coming back. And something I really don't understand is like how people see success in numbers. Because honestly, I feel like if you could really touch that one person to keep on coming back, or like that few people that really have a stable a stable relationship like in KP, then I feel like that like I did the best that I could instead of trying to reach out to like everyone and spreading myself out too thin and not retaining anyone. So I would just want to, because you can't reach everyone, and that's something I've learned from all the different types of leadership positions I've been in. And so I would just want to stay like true, like quality over quantity.
I am an organizer. I'm someone that likes to plan. I'm someone that really likes to bring people in. Sometimes, like for me, the one skill that I always use is just to smile, because I know a lot of people, well, past people I've talked to has said they always came back to the space just because I smiled at them or said hi. You know, like really being that personal person that really people can really connect to and really building that conversation with. It's something like I think I really want to keep bringing into this space. But then in terms of what I really want to do as chair is to really foster that community. And as the chair of KP, I would really, I don't know if it's like really spreading myself too thin, but really leaving myself open to anyone to talk to. I'm not, like if I go to GBMs, I'm not going to keep saying, oh, I'm the chair of KP, my name's Carl. I'm going to be the type of person, my name's Carl, 4th year from URC, or well, this year, 3rd year from URC, but next year, 4th year from URC. But I'm the type of person to like introduce myself as just my name and not a position. Just because I think as a position, like that really labels me in a sense. So when I want to introduce myself to another person, I'm not going to label myself as chair of KP. I'm going to label myself as Carl. And I think that for me is what will help me foster the community that I'm looking for, foster something that I can look back after I graduate and say, hey, I did this. I was able to do that just because I was able to put my heart into it. And if I keep labeling myself as chair of KP, or just an example is this year's, like if I label myself KP Star Coordinator all the time, I start losing that sense of like personable association with anyone that I talk to, because all they can look up to me as is KP Star Coordinator and not Carl Calvin kind of thing. So the skills that I would really bring is bringing that welcoming sense into the KP space and really teaching that to the board, to the GBMers, and really teaching that to myself. And really trying to understand where I'm coming from with it. Like if I'm introducing myself saying, Carl, where's that coming from? Is that me saying that as a board member, or is that me saying that as a person? I think what I've learned, or to answer that question, is that in these 3 years that I've been in the KP space, I've only stayed in because people didn't come up to me saying, hi, my name's blah, 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 and I'm this position. People came up to me saying, hi, my name's Carl, what are you doing? Or what's your name? Where are you from? Like these were the people that really brought me into this space and really kept me here in this space, because they're the ones introducing themselves and letting me be a part of their lives. So what I would want to do as chair is let myself be a part of someone else's life to help them bring it, or to really keep myself open to really bring these people in. Because if that's what's worked for me, that's something I want to work for everyone else. And I know this can be a long-term goal, something that just can't happen overnight. It's not something that will happen on the first GBM. But it's something I will continually do until I'm gone. It's something I'll just keep doing just because I really want to be on a personal level with people and really express myself to them, versus me expressing myself as a top of the organization in a sense, or as the face of KP, but introducing myself as the person who can be a face of KP, and that that any person that makes up KP is a face of KP. It's not just me, and I really want to make that known. Is that these GBMers are us. I'm a GBMer. Doesn't matter what position I'm in, I'm still a GBMer. Just because, or I guess just to end it, I am KP, KP is me, and I want that resonate within all of you.
Okay, thank you, Diana and Carl.